And it's now 15 minutes after 7. This is Morning Express, and it's time for the newsroom, where we look at how we members of the Fourth Estate have done our work and, well, introspect and see whether we have done a good job and possibly if we could have covered things in a different way. Now, in just less than 2 weeks, more than 100 people or 100 Kenyans have died on our roads. The government has already swung into action to contain the carnage, announcing a raft of measures. NTSA's so-called sting operation continues with almost nothing to show. More road signs erected, and as it appears, sanity is yet to return to our roads. And wherever these accidents occur, the media is always on the forefront. Journalists reporting who, what, where, when, how, and so on. But is that enough? Today in the newsroom segment, we talk about the role of media promoting road safety. In studio to drive this discussion, I have Tom Osanjo, who is a veteran journalist, and Dr. Esther Kingori, who is a lecturer. Welcome, lady and gentlemen, to the conversation this morning. And the statistics, of course, showing us the numbers of road accidents that we have had. And I was looking at some of the comments that are coming through. We had asked earlier what we as the media need to do to ensure that we basically promote road safety, other than just reporting. And I'll read some of the comments that have come through so far, and this is via Twitter. Remember, the Twitter poll question that we're asking today is, what more can the media do to ensure that we promote road safety? We have Avita here who says, connect dots so that masses see the consequences of taking shortcuts when it comes to safety. We also have Dr. Angololo, who says media should capture plate numbers of poorly driven cars and shame the drivers on air or on TV. I remember there is a time that was happening in one of the stations where they would call it name and shame. There was also media should organize and engage Kenyans in an open forum discussion to talk the nightmare out. So these are some of the comments that are coming via Twitter, but we'll also open up the phone lines to hear what your take is. What can the media do to ensure that we have safer roads? Let me start with you, Dr. Kingori, on our role as media, first of all, in educating and ensuring that we have safer roads.
Thank you. One of the things I would like to say is that I haven't seen a lot of investigative journalism from the media, because all that we see all the time is 10 lives lost, 20 more lost, 34 more lost, but we are not asking ourselves, how come this thing keeps happening, especially in December holidays? What is happening? Is it the authorities that go slow on the rules? Is there somebody making profit?
Is it just the volume of traffic that increases over a certain period of time?
So year after year, we are still just reporting the numbers, but we are not going out to ask, like this black spots. We are just waiting. We are just waiting when the minister calls a press conference, then we say this is what the minister will do. But the media, because we have a lot of, we have a big platform. Can we go out and ask, why is this black spot? Why is it still there like 5 years from now?
What are the issues surrounding it? Okay. Mr. Osanjo, you're a journalist, and that is definitely a challenge to your desk as a journalist. Why are we not investigating the causes of some of these accidents?
Actually, I agree with my former colleague here that sometimes the media just regurgitates what NTSA says or what the minister says, but there's no one going beyond to ask the hard questions.
And which are those hard questions?
I saw the other day there was this accident at Salga. The story was eyewitnesses said it was an NTSA vehicle that was chasing after a trailer that went and lost control. But when NTSA came on air, they were saying they were told there was a trailer that had lost control. And
they were trying to warn people.
So I was asking, what equipment do they have to stop a trailer that has lost control? It was not making sense. I think the media let us down on this. They should. I've been a news editor. If you are an editor and a reporter you sent to the field comes back to you with such half-baked story, you should tell him or her, ask this guy, how is this possible? Because by any common sense, the man was definitely not saying the truth. So I agree with her. These are some of the questions we need to ask.
Okay, Dr. Kingori, you're a lecturer in communication, and when, for instance, the story that he has brought up, and there are many others, even if not to do with accidents, that possibly come up, and you're left wondering, this something here doesn't make sense. Is it that we are too quick to try and get the story running, or is it that we are maybe possibly not, some may not be properly trained on how to get that story out? We merely go by what we are told by NTSA or the eyewitness.
You know, in journalism, there's that saying that if it bleeds, it leads. I mean, we say what if a dog bites a man, that's not a story.
That's
but if a man bites a dog, that's the story. So I think sometimes we just stop at being sensational. I wouldn't really say it's training. It's, I don't know, maybe is it this obsession that we have with politics, so that maybe we still, as much as many people are losing their lives, we still don't feel like this is a big enough to apart from the numbers, to tell it in a more investigative way.
So how do we overcome that? Because like you've said, if it bleeds, it leads. So at that point, maybe it'll make the headlines because of the numbers. But what would probably help us more, and what we'd like to get across, is how do we educate our drivers? How do we educate Kenyans more? How do we educate passengers? You'll hear some of the accidents. After the accident, they'll say, yes, the driver was over speeding, the driver was drunk, I was not too sure about his ability to drive, yet they did nothing about it.
I believe this should be a concerted effort, not just, as much as we are talking about the role of the media here, it should not just be the media, it should be the media, the government, the citizens. We've seen here in Kenya when KOT and other citizens online take up an issue, they make a lot of noise, and the government and authorities take action. So I keep wondering, and even before I came here, I had a conversation with some people, and we were wondering why we are losing many lives, but Kenyans don't seem angry enough to think that this is a very big situation that we should make noise about until something is done. I don't know what will happen.
Mr. Osanjo, do you think that Kenyans possibly have become passive to a point where we are not, like she says, angry enough to do something about it?
I think so. I think we're so much obsessed with politics, and somehow I think Kenyans look like they've lost hope. So people just leave whatever comes our way, we'll go on with it. Something I think the media can help change that perspective of how people look at things. Because honestly, in any decent countries, with 180 deaths and we have authorities like NTSA, traffic police, by now some people should have resigned. A sustained captain in the media would have seen some, in this particular route, there are particular policemen assigned job on that day, there are NTSA officers assigned job that day. Just get their names. And that's why did this happen?
And what exactly happened?
In decent countries, people should have resigned by now.
Okay.
And in some countries, maybe some would have been shot for negligence.
For negligence. All
Yes.
right, it's now 23 minutes after 7, and we welcome you to let us know what your thoughts are. The phone lines are now open. But we also have the authorities taking action, and we had Dr. Matiang'i yesterday basically making some statements, and we want to listen into that and see whether that possibly is a solution that he is offering and how we can pick it up as a media. Because again, this is even making part of the news today, but will it die with with a day or two, yet people are still dying? Let's listen into what Dr. Matiang'i had to say.
Our proposal to them as the Minister of Interior is that we have a total review of the Traffic Police Department. But as we do that, I need to inform the public that we're equally frustrated by the fact that the ongoing review of the police identified 127 traffic police officers who were kicked out, and they all went to court and arrived promptly with court orders to continue doing what they are doing on our roads. So I'm calling upon all of us to do our part. Even our colleagues in the judiciary need to understand they live in this country. They live in this country. We cannot ask police officers to leave. We cannot have police officers being disciplined from the weighbridge or wherever it is they are taking bribes, and they arrive in court and promptly come with court orders. so that now you have no option. I mean, we have seen very bizarre cases of judicial officers even prescribing where officers should be returned to. We have to be firm on driving schools in the country. My proposal is this, and as we had discussed earlier before we came to this meeting, we basically deregister all of them and re-register them afresh so that we know who actually is qualified to run a driving school. Because we are giving driving licenses to murderers, as it were. And then people who have no clue. Secondly, how is it that we don't review even the health of some of these people who have the driving licenses every year? In civilized environments, you could have some problems with your eyes next year. This year you are fine, but next year you have a problem with your eyes. So you are partially blind, we give you a license today and you stay with it forever. Even when you become blind, you become mentally unstable, you continue driving. So my view is, and we have agreed, NTSA, good people, we just have to re-register the driving schools in the country afresh.
Right, so that was Dr. Matiang'i yesterday, speaking tough. And one of the things we are accused of as media is lack of follow-up. There are several statements he made there, which hopefully, and if they implemented, maybe would change the situation. Your thoughts, Dr. King'ori, on our follow-up as media, on some of the statements that are made by our leaders?
I think I would say, again, there is lack of follow-up. Like Mr. Osanjo was saying, there is this thing, obsession with politics. So now we'll be following what is NASA saying, what is the Jubilee government saying.
Although right now there's not much, on the political scene to follow up. So really this would be, as it were, one of the big stories.
So I don't know why we are not making noise about it. I keep wondering, is it because in Kenya, Kenyan lives, we've cheapened lives? Because I think in other countries, like Mr. Osanjo was saying, just these numbers that we are talking about, I think action would be taken. We've kept talking about the way the truck drivers drive matatus, buses. Like you say, we say again, if something happens, an accident happens, we talk about it, and then, again, there is no follow-up. So I would like to challenge, is it the editors? We need to see more of these follow-ups in the stories.
Okay. Yeah. Mr. Osanjo, how do we practically follow this up? Because, again, we know that some stories possibly lose their life over time because another one comes up. But this becomes an important story because it's recurrent. Every December, we have the same story. So many lives lost.
I think the other problem we have in Kenya is we have short memory. Something happens, people make all kind of noises, government officials are all over. Remember when the Nairobi, the Moi Girls Nairobi fire took place, there was an uproar. But the thing just died like that. So we have that short-term memory. Something happens, everyone is reacting all over. For example, if we go through what Mr. Matiang'i was talking about, and for all intents and purposes, he's my personal friend. I do not want to appear like I'm attacking my friend on national TV. But we need to ask some question of all these proposals he's putting across. Are they really, can they be effected? What should, for example, the registering a driving school achieve? Those people will train you, and then the people will be on, the driver will go on the road. The problem here is we need to act tough on the road, and this is what the media should be focusing on. Blaming the driving school is like the English say, you blaming the monkey instead of the organ grinder. So you need to, we have very good laws. I don't think we need any laws, traffic laws.
We don't need any more laws.
I don't think we need any more laws. What we need is the implementation. Yes.
All right, Dr. King'ori, as a lecturer, where do we go wrong in terms of weighing? Because even politically speaking, there's some statements that are made by our politicians that possibly cannot be implemented. They're just, I'd call them political statements. They're posturing to make them sound like they're doing something. And maybe this could be part of it. Like Mr. Osanjo says, deregistering a driving school may sound good, But when you look at it practically, when you still have the same policemen, the same NTSA, the same enforcers on the road, does it really help?
So you're asking?
So the question is, where do we go wrong in weighing what some of our politicians say? How do we put it across that what they're saying is maybe not even practical? It's posturing.
I would say, I don't know whether we are mesmerized by, I mean, as Africans, our leaders, sometimes it's like we fear them or something, or when we go in front of them and they give the statement, we don't poke holes in it, question more.
So is that because of maybe lack of competence, or could it be that at the training level, we are not training our journalists well enough to ask the right questions?
I don't think I would just blame the teachers, because we teach them to be confident and we tell them this is how to ask the questions. But I would also push back the ball to the editors. When the reporter, like Mr. Osanjo was saying, if the reporter brings you a half-baked story, do you send the reporter back to get more answers to that question? Because as an editor, if you accept the half-baked story and you give it to the audience, you're also failing the audience.
Okay, Mr. Osanjo, how do we deal with that? Do you send them back, or do you fire them?
No, you don't fire them. Actually, you offer them guidance on how to ask questions when
but shouldn't that be coming from the school level, so that by the time they're going to the field, because really, some of these stories, you only have one take. You don't have much time to keep going back.
It is your duty as the editor to give your readers or viewers a comprehensive story. So before a reporter goes out to the field, it is up to the editor to brief the reporter. This is the angle we want to take on this story. I don't think, I've been out of the newsroom for some time. I don't think if it happens anymore. Number two, then there's this also the issue of social media, where now everybody is a journalist and everybody wants to be the first to break a story. So that competition, I think, has also watered down. You'll be sitting here in KTN studios trying to work out a story, and someone's already have it on the Facebook page. So that.
But isn't that where we come in to give it now credibility? Because what is on social media is possibly an update of what has happened. Now we give context.
Now that's what I'm saying. Now the problem is that competition. You don't want to be seen to be late with a story.
Okay.
Because everybody wants traffic. Bloggers want traffic to their blogs. Facebook writers want traffic to their pages. And KTN wants viewers to their studios. So I think there's also that aspect of it.
All right. Yep. Dr. Kingori, one of the messages that has come through here is whereby we need to engage or to inform the Kenyans a little bit more regarding their behavior and the consequences. Do you think we do enough of that? Because at the end of the day, it's a very wide. We cannot blame the NTSA and the police solely. Drivers also have a huge part they play. In fact, majority of the accidents are probably down to human error. So our engagement, our communication with the citizenry, are we communicating well enough in regards to what the consequences of their bad manners, if I can call them that?
Again, I go back and say the media is not doing enough. It's still
all
about sensational reporting. I think I would like to see more of maybe documentaries, creating awareness, not just for the motorists, but also they're called what? Pedestrians. Because sometimes you see somebody talking on the phone, they're crossing the road, or the lights, traffic lights, they're supposed to stop and allow the vehicles to pass. I mean, they pass and they're rude. So you as a motorist, even if you're supposed to be driving, you stop for them. So it should be an awareness for all citizenry, whether it's the drivers, the pedestrians, the matatus. So I think media still needs to do more, yeah.
All right, Mr. Osanjo will be winding up soon, but what is it that you'd expect to see us do between now and possibly the new year? This is now going to be the week where there's a lot of traveling and a lot of activity on the roads, and chances are, just by virtue of volume, there could be more accidents. What is it that you'd want or would expect the media to do now, between now and January, to ensure that we are doing our part?
I agree with Dr. Kingori that we need to see more documentaries. Also, we need to see the highlights of people who have broken traffic rules and how they've been punished. I know there might not be many, but if you highlight more of this, if a driver has been jailed for 10 years, if a matatu driver license has been cancelled, highlighting these stories will help create awareness in people. Yeah.
All right, Dr. Kingori?
I think this issue of deaths is now becoming disastrous. I don't know whether it should be declared a national disaster or something. And then the media houses, for them to take this seriously, I don't know whether there should be a desk that deals with traffic issues, and that desk should have an editor and reporter so that these matters may be taken seriously, and so that we can be seeing them on air.
All right, let me take a few calls, and we have a call from Dan in Nairobi. Good morning, Dan. Thank you for calling. To your comment or question.
Hello, Mike.
Yes, Dan.
Hello, I want to say this, Mike. Actually, for Dr. Matiang'i to blame driving schools, I think he has not gotten it right.
Okay.
We have to be very clear, Mike, that the situation we have in our roads is courtesy of what we call greed and corruption.
Okay.
Corruption and greed is what is killing this country. And Mike, what I would want to see the media doing, especially now, is that they need to go out there and get to investigate. There is a question I always ask myself, Mike, and this is a question media needs to ask themselves. Why do we have police officers in every police station, especially traffic police officers driving cars, why regular police officers are not doing the same? Why is this happening? Where do they get their money from? Does it mean that the pay towards traffic police officers is different from what the regular police officers are getting? This is what media has to tell Kenyans clearly, because you see, if you talk about driving schools, I mean, why did we have accidents in August, in June, or the beginning of this year? Why is it happening right now? Therefore, these are questions we need to ask ourselves, and if we have to do something.
All right.
Police stations have been turned into conduit of corruption. The police officers are not working for Kenyans. Actually, what is happening, police officers actually mount what we call roadblocks to collect money from drivers. The president hasn't come out clearly to speak about this because he needs to speak about it. Look at what happened when Michuki was in the Ministry of Transport. Look at how Kenyans behaved, how Kenyans acted, especially to drivers who were actually giving bribes to police officers. How Kenyans reacted toward police officers who were taking bribes from police officers, from drivers. What's happening now? I think the government has to come out clearly. Don't blame Kenyans, and I'm not going to blame any Kenyan. This is the work of the police officers, the drivers who are greedy, and the people who are not interested with the life of Kenyans. And enough of this, because we can't continue losing Kenyans like we are losing chicken on the road. Thank
you very much, Dan in Nairobi. Definitely very passionate about what he is saying. Let's also take a call from Walaba in Bungoma. Good morning, Walaba. Walaba in Bungoma, you can go right ahead to your comment or question. All right, and Suju is online as we wait for Walaba to be sorted out. Suju, good morning, and thank you for calling. Suju, if you can go right ahead with your question or comment, Suju. All right, and as we sort that out, maybe let me just come back to the panel. Dan, they're bringing up some interesting points, and the relationship between the road accidents that we have and corruption. Although he's blaming it on the police, and well, one might argue, yes, they are corrupt and they want to get a bribe, but the question is, there are also drivers who are bribing. I mean, the police don't bribe themselves. Mr. Osanjo. The relationship between the price we are paying on the roads and corruption.
As they say, it takes two to tango. So the drivers are guilty, but the policemen are also guilty. Sometimes the police would go out of their way to demand for a bribe, even when the driver does not have any problem. You drive on the road, you'll see a truck that's a very old truck, spewing smoke that you can't even see ahead. But it passes police roadblock. Why? Because the man has bribed. So, if only the police would take it more seriously, their duty. And Dan has brought up a very important issue, what I was saying earlier. We have very good traffic rules in this country. We don't need any more rules. The Mishuki rules are still there. Are they being effected?
It's just enforcement that is lacking.
It's the enforcement part of it. That's what.
Dr. Kingori, how can we make this clearer to Kenyans that corruption has a price, and sometimes it is a matter of life and death?
As Mr. Sanjo was speaking, it just crossed my mind. Dr. Matiang'i is the education minister and also standing in the interior ministry. And we can see how he's, weeded out the corruption in the education sector. I'm wondering, can he try and do the same in this,
but this again
transport
brings in the
sector?
question, must we depend on individuals? Don't we have rules and regulations in place and systems that can run an institution to a point where, it's, regardless of who is there, it still runs? Because God bless and rest his soul in peace, Mishuki did a good job, but he cannot come back. And Dr. Matiang'i is only one.
Okay, rules are there, but you know, if there's nobody to enforce, like Mr. Osanjo is saying, I mean, human beings will always attempt to break those rules. So we need a strong person, but who will make a lasting effect. We still need to find out how can we make it, ingrain it in Kenyans to follow these rules consistently.
All right, let's take a call from Joshua in Syokimau. Good morning, Joshua.
Hello.
Yes, good morning.
Hello.
Yes, Joshua, go right ahead.
Hello.
Joshua, I can hear you. Go right ahead to your question or comment.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning. And I'd request that you put off your television so
Hello.
that we're able to communicate, Joshua.
Hello.
All right, we'll move on to the
morning.
next call from James in Lodwar. Good morning, James.
Good morning. Yes, good morning. And I'd request that you put off your television so that we're able to communicate with you.
Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Yes, good morning. To your question or comment, please.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. To your comment or question.
Hello. I'm just so much surprised and I'm so much bitter on the issue of the Interior Minister. My question was how can the Minister of Interior my question was, how is it possible for Interior Minister to suggest that is registering the driving school? And again, I want now to ask a question on the media. How do they purport to put so much widely as a problem to all nations that the minister has the registered driving school? And yet, that was not something that has been passed. It was a proposal that the minister proposed to all the nations. But now the media is taking it so much wide as breaking news and actually threatening and making driving school proprietors so much worried that the driving school has been closed. And this morning, in fact, even we are receiving calls from parents and students that driving school has been deregistered. So how is it? Who are we going to believe? Are we going to believe the media? Are we going to believe the minister? Are we going to believe the Director General of NTSA? Who are we going now to believe here? The media? Who are the ones speaking the truth? The media, the Minister of the Interior, the government through the NTSA. Who are we going to believe here?
All right.
Who is in control at this moment? And why do they want to blame driving school at this time, December, when they know traffic officers are the one collecting money on our roads, especially on this December to get their pissed. And now they want to take the blame to innocent driving schools who train, and at the end of the day, they send drivers. Tell me, in the circles, in the PSP sector, tell me a new driver who is driving the vehicle from Eldoret to Nairobi. I know driving school, they train and they tell them they have to train for a long time. And tell me, employed a new driver from a driving school straight away.
All right, thank you, James.
Let media not cheat the whole world and the whole nation that the driving school has been deregistered because of the accidents.
All right.
Driving schools are not associated with accidents in this country.
All right, thank you very much, James, for your call. Let's go to Kennedy in Mombasa. Good morning, Kennedy. Kennedy in Mombasa, good morning. We have Kennedy in Mombasa to your comment. Okay, I think we've lost that.
I'm much good.
Okay, he's there. Kennedy, good morning. All right, we do apologize for that. There seems to be a technical issue there. But let me come back to the panel here. Mr. Osanjo, an important point brought out here by James, and this is in regards to accuracy of information. And I guess this weighs into what you were saying earlier, that we need to probe and question some of the statements that are made, just by virtue of the fact that Dr. Matiang'i said, and it's a proposal, that they could deregister all driving schools and then maybe re-register them, but it's already coming out across as though it has been done.
I think he is right, because the news that, if you watch news last night, it was like the minister has said the driving schools will be deregistered, but actually it was just a proposal. So I think those are another problem which we need to investigate. The accuracy of our reports, because people tend to believe the media more. Yesterday, if you went to social media, the story was like the Langata MP, Nixon Correa, had lost his seat.
Yes, I saw that.
The true story is the hearings had finished. Ruling is supposed to be on 19th. So if you go into town with such a rumor, I call it a rumor, you lose credibility. And you see, like that guy who called from Lodwar is very mad with the media. I think he sounds like someone who owns a driving school.
And possibly, yeah, they're already getting calls from students that they've been registered. All right, because of time, let's wind up. And I don't know, your closing comments, Dr. King'ori, on what you expect to see between now and possibly the new year from the media to ensure that we are also not just highlighting the deaths, but we are also informing and educating.
Yeah, like I just said before, I hope the media can have a desk to deal with these traffic issues, have an editor and reporters who follow up on the issues and make sure the whole story is reported. Yeah.
All right, your closing comments, Mr. Osanjo.
I understand the media is going through rough times, so doing a major investigation, not many media houses have investigation desks. I think because of financial issues and things like those. But it's still possible to have the reporters you have in the media houses to do a thorough job. You don't need to have even an entire investigative desk. Just have the guys you have on the ground doing a thorough information, bring it back to you in the newsroom before you disseminate to the public.
To the public. Thank you very much, Dr. Muthoni King'ori and Tom Osanjo for joining us this morning. But before we wind up, just a few of the comments that have been coming through via Twitter. And the question that we were asking this morning is, what can media do to ensure that we have safer roads? Now, we have Safeway Right Way is the name of this Twitter handle. Media should highlight work done by road safety organizations and individuals to encourage them. Media should have weekly programs on different aspects of road safety. And maybe this should be heightened even as we get to the festive season. We have White Rhino, who says affecting visibility of motorists and pedestrians is a time bomb. And we have Kevo, who says Kenyan media just do news reporting. Needs to be comprehensive and hard questions. Who gives driving licenses? Who supervises the driving tests? And we also have another tweet here from George, who says creating awareness to road users is vital. Let us all play part in respecting dignity and lives. Let's see, we do have another tweet. Take pictures and report offenders of traffic laws like drivers who overlap, drivers who fail to dim full lights as required, motorists who stop in non-designated locations, drivers who obstruct others, and road users. Media can do a lot to instill some discipline on our roads. Keep your comments coming. We'll keep reading them as we have time, and we continue right here here on Morning Express. For now, we want to take a short break. It is about 10 minutes to 8, but we'll be right back with more stories making headlines. And remember, today's Wednesday. We'll also be focusing on your health. Do stay with us right here on Morning Express.
This is KTN News.